Are you certain that tomorrow will come? If today were your last day, would you live differently? Would you take the time to express love to the important people in your life? Or would you continue letting everything slip away in the fast-paced whirlwind of daily life? We often think that we have plenty of time, that good things will come someday in the future. But the truth is, life does not promise us a tomorrow. The only thing you truly own is this moment, right here, right now. Take a moment to pause. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, am I truly living or just merely existing? Life is short, but it is precisely its brevity that serves as a precious reminder that each day is a gift. Don't wait to love, to apologize, or to live authentically as yourself. Start today, because every moment that passes will never return. Watch this video until the end to join me in exploring how to live each moment to its fullest. If you feel a connection, leave a comment saying, "I rise above, I thrive within," to help spread this message to everyone. Forward to reading your thoughts. Stoic Meditation 1. Remember that you could die today. Have you ever wondered, if today were your last day alive, what would you do differently? Not to scare you, but to awaken you. Would you still reach for your phone the moment your eyes open, swept into a storm of social media, entertainment, notifications, and messages? Or would you pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, am I living or merely existing? The modern world spins us into exhaustion, afraid of loneliness, chasing success, running away from ourselves. But sometimes, what we truly need isn't something grand or distant. It's a moment of stillness to return to ourselves. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." Each morning you wake up, you're still breathing, your heart is still beating. But that doesn't guarantee a tomorrow. Hard to believe, isn't it? Yet every day, we healthy, busy, full of plans might suddenly no longer be. A stroke, an accident, a terminal illness that comes without warning. That's not something to fear. That's something to become conscious of. Because only when we understand that life is finite do we begin to live rightly, fully, and truthfully. We postpone apologies. We delay hugs. We hold off on living true to our hearts. Because we keep thinking, there will be time. But very quickly, we look back and realize those we loved are no longer there. Opportunities pass, and the words we meant to say remain buried in silence. Learn to love what you already have. I have a friend named Nathan, always buried in work. A kind man who always said later to the things that truly mattered. He worked hard. He often said things like, "Once I finish this project, I'll take my wife on a trip. Once things settle down, I'll spend more time with my kid. Someday, I'll learn the guitar, write a book, live more meaningfully." But then, one October afternoon, his wife was in a car accident. She didn't make it. And the first thing Nathan said at her funeral wasn't a cry. It was a soft sentence. I thought I had more time. How many boyfriends, how many fathers have found themselves in this exact situation? We are all Nathan at some point. We think we have time to love. Timito say sorry. Timito finally live true. But the truth is, we don't know. And that is why we must live fully right now. When was the last time you told your family you love them? When was the last time you looked someone you care about in the eyes and were simply present? We run and run. But we don't live in the future. We don't live in the past. We live in the present. Remember this. Stop. Take a deep breath. Feel each inhale. Feel your heartbeat. You are alive, and that is a miracle. If today were your last, how would you live it? Are you still angry at a friend? Still silent with your parents over something small? Still putting off a dream because you're afraid? Or would you get up, go for a walk, breathe in the morning air, call someone you love, do one small thing, but do it meaningfully? This is not a call to live recklessly or in haste. This is a gentle invitation to live fully and mindfully, not tomorrow, not when everything is perfect, but today, right now. Don't act like you'll live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. Marcus Aurelius. Don't wait for inspiration. Don't wait for perfection. Let the fragility of life be the fuel for your deep presence, because no one knows when the final moment will come. And when it does, you won't be afraid, if you have truly lived. Stoic meditation 2. Appreciate what you have. Let's be honest with ourselves. Have you ever looked at someone else's life and wondered, why don't I have what they have? Why is the job I'm doing so dull, while I get to live their passion? Why do they have a happy family, while I'm still searching for something? We live in a world where comparison is invisible, yet present everywhere. You don't even have to go far, just open your phone, scroll for a few minutes, and you'll see dozens of people who seem to be living better than you, more successful, more fulfilled, more beautiful, more focused, with clearer goals. And then you start to feel lacking. Stoicism doesn't promise that you'll have everything you want, but it will teach you to see the value of what you already have before it disappears. Epicurus once said, "Do not spoil what you have by desiring what you have not. Remember that what you now have was once among the things you only hoped for." You can get out of bed on your own in the morning. You can walk with your own 2 feet. There are people your age who will spend their entire lives in a wheelchair wishing for just one chance to stand upright without help. Have you ever paused and realized how deeply grateful that is? I have an acquaintance. His name is Jim. He used to live fast, always saying, "I need more," and believing, "I'll be happy when I get that new car, a bigger house, a more prestigious job, something more," until one day, the doctor told him what no one wants to hear. Stage 3 cancer. Not much time left. Lying in his hospital bed, Jim said something I'll never forget. "I spent my whole life chasing what I didn't have, only to run out of time to enjoy what I already did." We often don't realize we're living a full life until a part of it is taken away. Our health, a loved one, a moment of peace that we only later recognize as happiness. You don't need to lose everything to learn how to be grateful. You just need to pause for a moment. Look back a little and be still for a while. And perhaps you were once your past self, dreaming of this very room you're in now, this very job you have, or the people currently by your side. Today, don't spend too much time scrolling through social media. Don't rush to chase someone else's image. Instead, take a look at the life you already have. How long has it been since you called your parents just to ask, "How are you today?" Not because you needed something, not out of duty, but simply to hear their voices and let them know you still think of them. How long has it been since you sat down, turned off all the noise, and truly listened to your wife speak? Epictetus once said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." Start this morning with a silent thank you. No ritual needed, no fancy words. Just one deep breath, one slow moment, and a small nod to yourself. You are not lacking. You just forgot to look. Stoic Meditation 3. Simplicity is freedom. Look around you. Modern life teaches you this. The more you have, the happier you are. The fuller your life, the more complete it feels. More money, more relationships, more goals, more plans, but also more pressure, more chows, more unis. Have you ever felt exhausted without knowing why? You didn't do anything wrong, yet something still feels heavy. Maybe it's not because you're lacking, but because you're carrying too much. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." I have a friend named Mike. He works in finance in Chicago. Good income. A calendar full of meetings. One evening he came home late and saw his little daughter asleep on the couch, still holding the book she had been waiting to read with him. It was the third night in a row. Mike didn't say a word. He just sat down beside her, looked at her, and felt a tightness in his chest. The next day, he began canceling meetings, selling what no longer had meaning, and setting aside his evenings just to be with his family. Simplicity begins with some very honest questions. How many things are you holding on to simply because you're afraid to let them go? How many people are you staying in touch with simply out of politeness? How many things have you bought just to fill a temporary void? Stoicism teaches us this. The fewer things that control you, the freer you become. You don't need to escape from society, but you can live simply within a complex world. Keep your mind clean, like a clear stream, not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to know I don't need much to live rightly, to live fully, to live free. Stoic meditation. 4. Control what you can. There are days when everything feels out of your hands. A project collapses, people change, bad news arrives, out of nowhere. You feel like you're trying to control a storm, but the wind refuses to listen. And yet, Stoicism reminds us of one profoundly simple truth. There is only one way to happiness: to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Epictetus. You cannot control other people. You cannot control the world, or what happens today. You cannot control the weather, the economy, or what others think of you. But you can control how you respond, how you think, how you choose to stay silent or to speak, how you center your mind in the midst of the noise. Imagine holding an umbrella in a heavy storm. You cannot stop the rain, it falls, Ludly, cold, soaking everything. You cannot stop the wind from blowing or prevent others from complaining. The weather is awful. But you can adjust your umbrella. You can choose your path. You can keep your steps steady, one at a time, instead of panicking and running without direction. Life is like that too. You cannot control the weather outside, or the weather inside others. But you can control how you walk through the rain. That is the inner strength Stoicism speaks of. Not making life easier, but making yourself stronger. I once heard a father share his story. His son had been diagnosed with a life-threatening illness. There was nothing he could do to change the test results, but he chose not to blame, not to panic. He chose how he would walk alongside his son each day, how he would smile, stay patient, and be fully present. He could not control the illness, but he could control the love he gave. Pain is born from clinging to what you cannot change. Freedom begins the moment you release what was never yours. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "How can I respond wisely? What can I learn from this? What choices do I still have in this moment?" We don't get to choose our circumstances, but we always get to choose our attitude. And attitude, that is what defines a Stoic. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. Today, the world may not go your way, but you can still choose to live fully by controlling the one thing that's truly yours, yourself. So now I ask you, are you ready to let go so you can feel lighter? Stoic Meditation 5. Don't waste time on other people's opinions. Think about Taylor Swift. There was a time when she was relentlessly criticized by the media for writing too much about love, for speaking her truth, for standing up to power in the industry. Some called her too sensitive, too dramatic. But instead of staying silent, instead of trying to please everyone, Taylor chose to be real. She wrote songs about her own emotions, shared her private struggles, and even went head-to-head with the system to protect the ownership of her music. The result: she became one of the most influential artists in the world, not because she pleased everyone, but because she stopped being afraid of being judged. And that's when I asked myself, have you ever done something or avoided doing it just because you were afraid of what people might think? Afraid to speak your truth, afraid to walk your own path, afraid to quit the job, change your career, or even love someone just because you feared being judged. Epictetus, Stoic philosopher who was once a slave, who learned to find freedom in his mind long before he had it in the world, once said something deeply profound: to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid, not because you are foolish, but because you are brave enough to step off the path where others are still stuck. I remember a friend named Kevin. He was incredibly smart, great student, good job, widely respected. But for years, Kevin felt suffocated, not because he lacked money, but because he was living a life others expected of him, not one he chose for himself. He loved photography, nature, simplicity, but he was stuck between button-down shirts, business meetings, and conditional compliments. Only when his father passed away, suddenly, did Kevin do what he had longed to do for years: live honestly, no matter what others thought. And you know what? He never regretted it. Because when you dare to live authentically, you realize something powerful. Other people's opinions only have power if you give it to them. Marcus Aurelius, the wise Roman emperor, used to write in his journal each night to stay awake in spirit. In one entry he wrote, "Stop worrying about what other people are thinking. You don't have time for that." He was a king, but he knew this truth deeply. Other people's thoughts don't feed your soul. So ask yourself, honestly, whose life are you living? Yours, or the life of people who won't even remember your name in a few years? Today, instead of asking, will people approve, ask, am I living in alignment with my values? Can I sleep well with this decision, even if no one supports it? And remember, silence, in the face of other people's gaze, is the loudest declaration of a free person. You don't need anyone's permission to be yourself. You just need to choose you. Stoic Meditation 6. Not everything requires a reaction. There's a habit that has quietly taken root in the way we live each day. A habit that seems harmless, but gradually wears down our inner peace. It is the habit of reacting immediately to everything. You see a negative comment on Facebook, and you quickly type out a well-reasoned reply, even if it's just to defend a point you've never thought deeply about. You hear a colleague say something in a meeting that seems aimed at you, and you spend the entire afternoon thinking about how to push back or prove yourself right. You're driving, someone cuts you off without signaling, and you slam the steering wheel, roll down the window, and yell at someone you'll never meet again. A piece of news makes you upset. A tweet makes you feel personally offended. And so, you react, reply, fire back, get angry, argue, correct. Just. 2. Prove, I'm right, I'm strong, I won't stay quiet. But have you ever stopped and asked, after all of that, do I feel any lighter? Or just more exhausted? Epictetus, a slave, and later one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, reminded us of something beautifully simple. If someone offends you, remember, it is only a word. It is your reaction that causes the pain. There are things you hear that do not need a reply. There are people you meet who do not require a debate, and there are moments where you can choose silence. Not because you've lost, but because you refuse to lose your peace. I remember one morning, waiting in line for coffee. A stranger cut in front of me and said, "I'm in a hurry." The whole cafe looked at me, waiting for a reaction. I simply looked at him, smiled, and said, "I'm not." Not because I'm some virtuous saint, but because I've learned this. Reacting might make you feel right, but not reacting is how you remain in control of yourself. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor who ruled the Roman Empire, used to write in his journal not for others to read, but to remind himself daily, you can always hold your composure. No one can force you to react unless you allow it. You may not choose what others say, but you always choose whether or not to respond. And sometimes, silence is the strongest form of power. Think back to the last time you lost your temper. You argued. You needed to prove you had to win. But afterwards, did you feel lighter or just more tired? So today, when someone irritates you, try this. Say nothing. No comeback. No correction. No need to win. Just take a breath, a pause, a quiet smile. You'll notice the most unsettling thing for those who provoke you is not your reaction, but your refusal to give them one. You don't have to be right all the time. You only need to be strong enough not to be pulled into the wrong battle. And just like that, you've taken another step forward on the Stoic path. Deliberate, aware, and no longer ruled by fleeting emotions. Stoic Meditation 7. View challenges as mental exercises. Most of us desire a smooth life. Fewer obstacles, fewer incidents, less heartbreak. And then, when hardship strikes, we feel attacked. We ask, why me? What did I do wrong? Why is life so unfair? But Stoics don't ask such questions. They don't see challenges as enemies. They see them as exercises, a form of training, an essential part of the journey of growth. Epictetus, a philosopher who was once a slave, lived most of his life in poverty and illness, once said something that I still carry with me to this day. Don't hope that things will happen as you wish. Hope instead that you can learn to embrace things as they happen. Just like our bodies need weight to grow stronger, our minds need pressure to become resilient. Where do you think equanimity comes from? From everything always being easy, or from having fallen, been hurt, failed, and yet still rising, still moving forward? I remember a woman who went through a divorce, unemployment, and the loss of her father, all within a year. At one point she said, I thought I wouldn't make it. But she didn't collapse. She walked every morning, read books, wrote in her journal, meditated. She didn't let life dictate her mind. And later, she told me, those things didn't destroy me. They reforged me, sharper, stronger, deeper. Challenges don't come to defeat you. They come to awaken the strength you've never seen in yourself. Marcus Aurelius, during years of war, plague, and rebellion, still consistently wrote in his journal, every day, asterisk, asterisk. Life is a series of opportunities to practice patience, humility, awareness, steadfastness. Today, if you're facing something difficult, don't ask, why me? Instead, ask, what can I forge from this challenge? Maybe it's patience, maybe it's gratitude, maybe it's letting go, or simply the ability to stand firm when everything is shaking. Challenges don't take away who you are. They help you return to yourself, a stronger, steadier version. Life is fleeting, and tomorrow is never guaranteed. The only thing you truly have is this moment right here, right now. Don't wait to love, to forgive, or to live authentically. Start today. Take a breath, be present, and cherish what you already have. If this resonates with you, leave a comment saying, I rise above, I thrive within. Let's embrace life fully, together.